My fiancé declared, I need to find myself before the wedding. I will stay at my ex-boyfriend's parents' house to sort out my thoughts. I replied, of course. Take all the time you need. After that, I sold the ring, canceled the honeymoon, and spent the money I got back on a solo trip to Bali. Her panicked calls began the same day she saw my stories on social media. I am 32 years old, and in 8 weeks I should have been a married man. The wedding venue was already booked, the banquet paid for, and the honeymoon in Greece fully planned. My fiancée, Ashley, who is 29 years old, shocked me with this news last Monday, right at breakfast. She said, Brett, I need to tell you something. I feel completely worn down by the wedding preparations. I thought it was the usual pre-wedding nerves and took her hand. I suggested cutting the guest list if her mother had gone overboard with the invitations. But Ashley pulled back. She said, no, that's not what this is about. I need to find out who I am before we take this step. I froze with the coffee cup in my hand. Find myself? I asked. It turned out she had been talking to Trevor's family. That is her ex-boyfriend from college, with whom she was together for 3 years. His parents have a vacation home, and his mother suggested Ashley stay there for a few weeks to clear her mind. I clarified, you want to live with your ex-boyfriend's relatives to sort out your feelings about our wedding? Ashley assured me that Trevor himself would not be there since he lives in Seattle. Only his parents and his sister would be there. I reminded her that there were only 2 months left until the wedding. She burst into tears of frustration and explained that this was exactly why she needed space. In her opinion, she had never been alone. First she lived with her parents, then with Trevor, then with me. She urgently needed to find out who she was outside of relationships, and she wanted to do that surrounded by her ex-boyfriend's family, who treated her like their own. We had been together for 3 years, engaged for 2 of them. Everything was already paid for. I looked at her and said, all right, take all the time you need. Go find yourself. Ashley beamed, hugged me, and promised to come back in 2 or 3 weeks, confirming that the wedding was still valid. On Wednesday, she packed 2 suitcases and drove to Trevor's vacation home. On the way, she posted a selfie with the caption that sometimes you have to take a step back in order to move forward, adding the hashtag soul searching. I waited exactly 1 hour after her departure and got to work. First, I took care of the ring. Platinum, princess cut, 2.5 carats. It had cost me $18,000. I had all the documents and receipts. The jewelry store had a 60-day return policy if the piece had not been worn. It was the 52nd day. On Thursday morning, the store manager recognized me and asked how the wedding preparations were going. I replied that the plans had changed and I needed to return the purchase. When he heard that the fiancée was finding herself at her ex's place, he processed the return without further comment. By Friday, all $18,000 were back in my account. Next came the honeymoon. 2 weeks in Greece. Flights, hotels, and excursions cost $7,800. Most of the sum was considered non-refundable, but I decided to fight. I called the airline and reported a family emergency, the death of a relationship. They gave me a credit for future flights. With the hotels, it was more difficult, but honest reviews about the canceled wedding due to the bride's doubts helped. 3 hotels out of compassion returned $3,200. With the deposit for the banquet hall and catering, which was $8,500, there were difficulties because both partners' signatures were required. I decided to wait on that. On Saturday morning, I bought a one-way ticket to Bali for $1,400 using the flight credit. I found a luxurious oceanfront villa. Rent for 1 month cost $2,000, a bargain compared to the wedding expenses. My boss allowed me to take my accrued vacation time. The first social media story I posted was right from the airport, a photo of the boarding pass with no caption. Ashley immediately wrote, "Where are you going?" I replied, "I'm finding myself." She said that was not funny, to which I responded that moving in with the ex-boyfriend 2 months before the wedding was also a questionable joke. She started insisting again that Trevor was not there. I wished her a nice stay and turned on airplane mode. 20 hours later, I landed. The villa was great. Private beach, infinity pool, and an outdoor shower. I posted a photo with a cocktail at sunset and tagged the location. When I turned my phone back on, it practically exploded. From Ashley came 38 messages and 19 missed calls. Her mother Karen wrote 12 times, her sister Brittany 15 times. My mother only asked if everything was okay with me. Ashley demanded to talk immediately, called my behavior immature, and was outraged that I was having fun while she was working on herself. Her mother accused me of manipulation, claiming that adults don't solve problems that way. And sister Brittany shared a surprise. Trevor had suddenly come to his parents' house. I posted another story from the beach bar in the company of new Australian friends. We were smiling widely, and the caption read, "Finding myself by finding new friends." Ashley called during my dinner. I answered. She screamed into the phone asking what I was doing. I calmly replied that I was eating fantastic seafood. When she asked why I was in Bali, I answered, "For the same reason you're at Trevor's, I'm finding myself." She tried to argue that it was different, that she was engaged in self-reflection while I was just on vacation. I noted that I was also reflecting brilliantly by the pool with a mojito. When she brought up our wedding, I asked, "Which wedding are you talking about?" Silence fell. Ashley was outraged and reminded me of the celebration I had supposedly fled from. I asked when she planned to come back. She answered, "In 2, 3, or maybe 4 weeks." I pointed out that there were only 8 weeks left until the wedding, and she needed to spend half of that time in her ex-boyfriend's house. She was hurt, claimed she was doing nothing wrong, and was trying to become better for us. When I mentioned that Trevor was already there, she hesitated and said it was a surprise for his parents. I informed her that I would stay on the island for a month or longer until I finished my search. She hung up. The next morning, I posted a photo of breakfast with a view of the sea and wrote, "Self-discovery tastes great." It was the 5th day of my stay on Bali. I had found a rhythm: yoga at dawn, surfing lessons, temple visits, and new acquaintances. Then Trevor called. I looked at the caller ID and was amazed at his audacity. When I answered, he introduced himself, even though I knew exactly who it was. Trevor began by saying that the situation was embarrassing because my fiancée was right there at the vacation home with him. I confirmed that this was indeed strange. He explained that Ashley was very upset, but I replied that this was no longer my problem. Trevor insisted that I come back, claiming that she was absolutely devastated and had only needed personal space. I countered that I was giving her plenty of that space, an entire ocean, while I was on Bali. He called my behavior childish, to which I reminded him, what was truly childish was fleeing to the ex-boyfriend's family 2 months before your own wedding. He justified it by saying she had needed to think everything through. I disagreed, saying that I also needed time to think, and I would spend it on Bali. But Trevor did not give up. He confessed that she had been messaging him over several months. I froze. He claimed it was only friendly exchange, but she had expressed doubts to him about the upcoming celebration. When I asked why he hadn't advised her to talk to the groom, Trevor said it wasn't his business, but hosting her at his place he found entirely appropriate, though he emphasized that the invitation had come from his mother. I hung up and took a screenshot of the call log. This was a very interesting turn. The same day, Karen, Ashley's mother, took a different tactic and publicly commented on my social media post. She wrote that my behavior was extremely immature, and while Ashley was dealing with legitimate fears, I was just playing games. In her opinion, her daughter needed a break from me precisely for that reason. I replied to her directly in the comments. "You're right, Karen. She really did need a break from me, and now she will have that freedom forever." She deleted her text within an hour, but about 50 people had already seen it. My phone exploded with messages from friends wanting details. Instead of giving explanations, I posted a story about signing up for a cooking class to learn how to make real nasi goreng. Self-development had become my priority. Ashley sent a message asking me to stop posting because everyone was bombarding her with questions about my stay in Bali. I suggested that she honestly tell people that we were both busy with self-discovery, her at Trevor's vacation home, and me here. She tried to steer the conversation toward the wedding venues, claiming that the vendors were trying to reach her. "Which wedding are you talking about?" I asked. She demanded I stop talking like that because she had supposedly never said she wanted to end the relationship. I reminded her that her moving in with her ex-boyfriend before the wedding spoke for itself. Ashley informed me that she was coming back home and asked for my arrival date. I replied that I would come back when I had finished my own self-discovery. She called on me to be serious, but I was only following her example. Self-discovery is important. She tried to call me, but I declined the call and posted a photo of the sunset. The 10th day arrived. The calls from the wedding vendors began. Since I had a new local SIM card and rarely checked my emails, they started targeting Ashley. The venue management wanted confirmation of the final guest count. The caterer was waiting for the final payment, and the florist was ready to finish the decorations. Ashley panicked because without my involvement, she could not cancel, change, or postpone anything. She sent a long letter admitting that she might have acted wrongly, but that my departure to Bali was not a solution. She mentioned the contractual obligations, the loss of deposits, and our family's plans. Ashley wrote that she had realized her mistake and wanted to make things right, and she swore that Trevor meant nothing to her and that his family had only seemed safe to her in a moment of fear. I replied that I felt no anger. I was simply on Bali. She wanted to find herself in her ex-boyfriend's company, and I preferred to do it on the beach. About contracts she should have thought before moving to Trevor's. Since she had already spent 10 days there, I assumed her search was not yet finished. I told her that I would be back in 3 or 4 weeks and advised her to enjoy her stay at the vacation home. Ashley was furious. She called my mother crying. When my mother contacted me, I explained that my fiancée had decided to live with her ex-boyfriend before the wedding. My mother's reaction was clear. If a woman needs that kind of neighborhood to decide to marry, then she doesn't really want to get married. She supported me and asked me to send my father photos of the temples. In the evening, a message came from an unknown number. It was Linda, Trevor's mother. She tried to convince me that it was a misunderstanding, that Ashley had simply needed peace, and that her son's presence was pure coincidence. I replied that there was no misunderstanding. My fiancée was living in the same house as her son, and that fact alone was enough. Linda began to emphasize that they were even sleeping in different rooms, to which I remarked that the very existence of such justifications confirmed the absurdity of the situation. She accused me of being unreasonable, but I considered my decision completely logical. I did not reply to her long explanations about maturity and commitments. Instead, I posted a video of a fire show on the beach. Ashley commented indignantly, so I sent her a heart emoji. Day 14. I extended the villa rental and got a discount for a 1-month stay. Suddenly, Ashley informed me that she had returned home alone. She insisted on a conversation and swore that nothing had happened between her and Trevor. They were just friends. In her opinion, 2 weeks of talking with him had helped her understand that she wanted to marry me. She explained her behavior as a fear of commitment, which Trevor had helped her overcome. I replied that I did not want to spend my life with someone who needed her ex-boyfriend's advice to decide on marriage. After a long silence, she brought up the wedding again, which was still 6 weeks away. I repeated that the celebration was canceled. Ashley objected that there had been no official cancellation, so I suggested she check whether the ring was still there. She answered that it was in her jewelry box because she hadn't wanted to lose it at the vacation home. I confessed that I had already taken my ring off 10 days earlier and returned her jewelry to the store. It was the $18,000 ring. The redeemed money paid for most of my vacation. Screams and sobs came over the line. I held the phone away from my ear. Ashley screamed that I had no right to do that. But for me, our relationship ended the moment she packed her bags. She swore that she had come back out of love, but I am sure true love does not need 2 weeks of deliberation in another man's house. She threatened to keep the wedding date, but I reminded her that all contract changes required both parties' signatures. She accused me of theft since she considered the ring her property. I disagreed. It was a gift given on the condition of marriage. Since she had broken that condition by moving to Trevor's, I had simply reclaimed my property. Ashley posted a Facebook message about how people show their true colors in difficult times. She wrote that instead of support, she had experienced betrayal and that she was now glad to have learned the truth before making a mistake. A real war broke out in the comments between our supporters. I did not get involved. I simply posted another sunset photo. Friends also began taking sides. My friend James asked if I had really sold the ring. I explained that I had returned it, adding, If you need your ex-boyfriend's help to gain clarity in your current relationship, then that relationship no longer exists. Ashley's friend Nicole sent me a long message about toxicity and manipulation. In reply, I sent her a photo from a pottery class where I was supposedly working on my toxicity by shaping a vase. She then blocked me. Soon a lawyer entered the scene, hired by Ashley's father, Mr. Peterson. He sent an official letter with the following demands: payment of $9,000, half the ring's value, reimbursement of all wedding deposits, payment of damages for pain and suffering, and rebooking the honeymoon tickets in Ashley's name. I forwarded this letter to my cousin, who works as a lawyer. He only laughed and advised me to reject their demands. My cousin drafted a response, pointing out that the ring was a conditional gift and the condition had not been met. All contracts with the vendors required both parties' signatures. The claim for pain and suffering was unfounded, given her move to her ex-partner's home. As for the honeymoon, the tickets were bought by me and issued in my name. Ashley wrote to me and asked if we couldn't do without lawyers. I reminded her that she had involved lawyers first. She answered that it had been her father's initiative. Calculate the cost of the psychotherapy I will need after my fiancée moved in with her ex-boyfriend. I will deduct that amount from the value of the engagement ring. This is not funny at all. Just as unfunny as the fact that Trevor was there the whole time. She claims he only came for a few days, but I don't care whether she was there for an hour or a week. Ashley, you preferred to seek comfort from your ex-boyfriend rather than solve our problems. I tried to talk to you before you packed your things. Now it's all over. My lawyer will handle this situation. Excellent, so will mine. Enjoy your self-discovery. That night I posted a story about a traditional Balinese ceremony I was invited to. In some cultures, loyalty and commitment are still valued. An amazing concept. Ashley viewed the post a few minutes later, but did not reply. Final update. Day 30. My last day on Bali. The legal dispute fizzled out. Ashley's lawyer realized they had no chance. The ring had been returned within the legal deadline. Both parties' signatures were required to cancel the contracts, and the claim for pain and suffering was simply ridiculous given all the circumstances. But the most interesting part, Trevor got in touch again. He wanted me to know that supposedly nothing had happened between them. Trevor, I really don't care. She chose you, buddy. No, she chose to run away, and then come back when I refused to play by her rules. That is not devotion. That is looking for advantage. She did not love me. She loved the stability, the wedding, and the life we were building. But when it was time to take responsibility, she ran to you. Now she is your problem. What? We are not together. Give her time. She will need a place to stay when she realizes the vendors are demanding payment for canceling the celebration. You're not going to cancel, are you? I can't do it without the second signature, but I will not pay and I will not show up to the ceremony. That is cruel. No, those are consequences. 3 days after I returned home, I saw Ashley. She was sitting on the steps in front of my apartment. Tear-stained eyes, messy hair, exhausted look. We sat down and talked. She admitted that she had made a mistake because she got scared. The wedding, the eternal togetherness, it had all frightened her. Trevor had seemed safe and familiar to her. There was no pressure. And then she supposedly realized that she wanted exactly me, with all the commitments and difficulties. Ashley, you humiliated me. You went to your ex-boyfriend. Your family attacked me publicly, and friends called me toxic. And you think you can just come back when you feel mature enough? I looked at her. I really looked at her. She was still beautiful, the same woman I had truly loved for 3 years. But at the same time, she was the one who preferred to flee to another man as soon as things got serious. I can't. Brett, please. I cannot marry someone who needs another man to appreciate our relationship. You didn't know if you wanted to be with me, so you went to Trevor. What happens the next time you get scared? Who will you run to then? She cried and pleaded, promised therapy and marriage counselors. Ashley, go home. This is my home. No, it was once our home. Now it's just my apartment. She left. Later, another social media post appeared about men who can't handle strong women who need space. This time, the comments were merciless. Even her friends pointed out that the story with Trevor looked strange. The day of our canceled wedding arrived. I was with friends in Las Vegas. I posted a photo with the caption, "Dodged a bullet." Instead of a ring, I was holding playing cards for poker. Ashley sent a message. "Today would have been our wedding day." I replied, "For me, it did come. I married self-respect. A beautiful ceremony. You should have been there." She did not reply. From mutual acquaintances, I learned that she started going out with Trevor. 3 months later, they broke up. That happened after she again moved to his parents' house to find herself before meeting his relatives for Christmas. Trevor called me. Now he understood everything. I had told him so. She would become his problem. Some lessons cost $18,000. My money bought me a month in Bali, and the realization, when someone shows their true face by running to their ex-boyfriend at the first sign of trouble, believe them the first time. The villa on Bali still sends me birthday greetings. Maybe I will return there next year. I am still finding myself, but I am doing it without the involvement of people who need other people's validation to confirm their choices, and the wedding vendors ultimately sent the bills to both of us. Ashley had to pay her share, about $4,000. Her father was furious. For me, the freedom was worth every cent I spent. I still have that crooked clay vase I shaped myself. It is imperfect and almost useless, but at least it knows what it is, and it doesn't need an ex-boyfriend to figure that out.